And
Exactly. So
mhm,
so sorry to cut you off. And
no,
this is
no
really
worries.
we're about to really get rolling here because and just for anybody listening, we didn't do any like pre-show prep. We didn't talk about
No,
any topics. I love to shoot from the hip and have a real authentic conversation
same.
because I'm somebody who can go to a bar and spark up a conversation.
Hmm.
I like to do it on the podcast.
Right.
And
I like the structure of this too. I'm like, I know who I'm meeting. I know what time I'm meeting them. I know that we're going to have something to talk about. I
yeah,
don't know what it's going to be, but I know that we're going to have an interesting, authentic, connected conversation.
exactly. And you talk about operating within the structure. And
Hmm.
oftentimes I have conversations with people who may have an issue, especially with our hot issues, whether it's race, sexuality, gender, all
Hmm.
these different things, right? That people don't like to talk about or are super polarizing.
Right.
Here's the structure in which we live in. Here's how you have to act in that structure.
Hmm.
I don't agree that you should have to act this way if we're talking in a vacuum.
Right.
But life's not in a vacuum.
Right.
So once we put these once we are in the structure, you have to do this in order to survive within the structure.
Hmm.
Now, if you want to rip it at its seams and create a new structure, then have at it. But don't be upset at somebody for surviving within the structure without acknowledging that this is what our structure creates, you know?
Yes. Yes.
So what I'm getting from you is you, you like a little bit of structure, but you feel like you like left and right, and then let me fill in the blanks. Am I
Absolutely.
right there?
So I don't know how into astrology you are, but I'm a Cancer. So that means that I am very heart centered. I'm like the mother of the zodiac, very nurturing, want to make sure that everyone is okay and taken care of. That things are comfortable, that they're homey, that I can be of service to the people that I love. But that also rolls into Virgo, which is also something that likes to be of service. And my moon's in Virgo. So that kind of means that I have some of like the shadowy versions of what that sign would hold. And so Virgo does like structure. It also likes stability. It likes to be of service. And so there's this idea of I like to have a structure in place so that I know how far I can push my boundaries. That there's this thing where the idea of comfort zone has come up a lot lately around me.
Okay.
And a friend of a friend is just dropped a book, and her name's Terry Trespicio. She's incredible, and it's called Unfollow Your Passion. And she talks about how like sometimes we get stuck in this idea of passion. But another thing that she talks about that has felt more resonant for me even is this idea of you don't necessarily have to step outside of your comfort zone. You need to expand your comfort zone.
Oh, I like that.
So it's like, because you're not going to do something that, I mean, yes, thrill seekers love to do things that make them uncomfortable. And that is definitely a selection of humans that are like, yes, toss me outside of my comfort zone. And that adrenaline rush is like nothing I can get, right?
But that's
There are
still their comfort zone because if you tell them to sit down somewhere and just chill,
they can't do
they
it.
can't do it.
Mm-hmm. And so this idea of like, you don't have to step completely outside of it, but like start pushing the boundary of what comfort is to you. So, touch the edges of it and maybe have a conversation with someone you maybe don't see eye to eye with, or, step into a part of town you don't usually go to, or go to a store that you don't usually, right? Like there can be tiny ways to sort of expand a comfort zone. Yeah, so that's something that I've been playing with lately.
That's good because you don't know what you're capable of if you don't push yourself. And
Hmm.
kind of in the same on the same topic, right? I want to pitch something at you.
Okay.
The word love.
Hmm.
For one, it's an overused word if we're being honest. But if we're talking about love from a romantic point of view,
Okay.
and sometimes you will hear a hurt partner go, "If you loved me, you would not have done this."
Hmm.
And I say, no, if you loved me, you would not have done what I did. But we all define love differently.
Hmm.
And rarely is there a conversation about how I express love and how I want to receive love,
Right.
and how somebody else expresses it and wants to receive it. And we're using a vague word to define a very specific concept.
Sure. Are you familiar with the love languages?
Yes. Me and the old lady, we did the love languages test. We're actually due to redo it sometime in the near future because we do it just to, like, stay
Yeah,
in
check
line
in.
with, yeah.
Yeah,
Let
right.
me make sure I'm loving you
Make
the
sure
right
you're in
way.
alignment. Make sure that even if your primary way of expressing your love and your care for that person doesn't look the way that their primary preference to receive it does, if they understand that you're trying to do more of what aligns for them, and if they're able to recognize when you do what aligns for you, like that to me is love, or at
Exactly.
least partnership.
Yeah, yes, and I just think that a lot of people just don't do those little things.
Sure.
We live off of attraction, and
Mm-hmm.
whether it's physical attraction, emotional attraction, personalities, whatever it is, it's not that whole, yeah, attraction gets us here, but you got to maintain it.
Right.
Y- yeah, when you buy a car, you still have to get the oil change. You still have to
Mm-hmm.
rotate your tires. You still have to put gas in it. You just don't buy it and drive.
Right. You don't eat once, you have to eat every day, several meals a day.
Exactly. And I think the same should apply to your relationships. Now,
Yeah, and not just romantic, right? Like you could find that in any relationship. You can find that between parent and child, between siblings, between in-laws, between just your friends, your coworkers, your boss, right? Like you can find it everywhere. It's just a matter of like stepping up and being open to having uncomfortable, maybe outside of your traditional comfort zone conversations, and saying, like, speaking up when you say this doesn't quite feel right, or that is I feel a certain way about that. I feel like you need to know that, right? Like and there are ways to do that without being in like a charged place, so that it doesn't come from an emotional experience, that it's just like, hey, this is just some information I want you to have.
exactly. And so often it's difficult to have those conversations because, for
Mm-hmm.
one, you're worried about how it's gonna land with that person.
Yeah.
And then also it's just not received the right way. It's like, hey, I'm pointing this out because I care, not because I'm an asshole.
Right, that the intention and the reception are not aligned.
Alignment.